Hello, 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 young legion. Ah, you've heard your name is slow. That's Campus. Campus Marcy is here. Your name. Return. Okay, if this is about the elections. This is more serious than Tom Steyer. For example, with his passions, calling the president a fraud, a failure, and all these things. With passions and emotions, dishonesty and delusions raw. That is offensively only allowed her to teach podium, not by accident, per a method that is keeping worse than forsaken millions of Americans, prevented free speech, for sequence shift counters needed, for finite lie counters needed simultaneously, per the value counters to entrap worse than enslaved, self-valued worse than enslaved, the identities of our founders. They didn't have free speech. They wanted this demonstrated. That's what's actually recorded. Now, see, we have knowledge, intersciences. Each expert recorded, confessed, demonstrated. Confessions are important because this is how an identity of volume has criminal and seditious nature criminally legalized. This was how it is propagated to maintain defenses of its needs to pretend it has integrity. In relationships to sanctions treatments and justifications of value treatments, therefore, sequence shift racketeering, finite lies, racketeering, active lies, value of the order of these things simultaneously. The progressive value to the order of the progressive value, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, as the order to the sequence true before matter is distinctly more, because one identity of value progression are these five identities of value progression simultaneously. One identity is coming to and from each value, while it is as it is value with it and for it further too, as five bonded semi-natures. To, from, as, with, and for. Now, so this is a method that consciously engineered everyone blaming other things, others, and themselves for the real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So even Hartford, Connecticut, there are parts of America and throughout the world affected by the same actually recorded breaching method, organized crime, worse than organized crime, worse than war crimes method that was entrenched in America since before America's founding parents were even born. This was entrenched in other nations, modern nations, since before their parents were even born. This had affected the internation relations and roles with the identity of the sciences and preservation of them, database relationship and relationship to this ancient republic. Now, see, people, we don't see evidences. One evidence is that and how criminally foreign influence database relationships are maintained self-value, justifications of them, and justifications of the premises treatments with that. That is where you find criminally foreign influenced human fact treatment nature, premises treatments, sequence treatments, nature itself as criminal and seditious nature, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced. Not honestly, because that was used remotely. Each person of each branch of government, each person tied to them, we're in a trap that keeps all victim predator roles. Forgiveness is about this. Jesus Christ, when he speaks about forgiveness, that's about what we know about the religion, the nature of Jesus' message. So this is what we call, there are things, but everyone left out the first part of the Old Testament. Only did they leave it out. All locations, areas, and states are recorded role self-valuing the identity thefts of anyone who tries to bring up proper treatments of the first part of the Old Testament, proper treatments of the first part of the Quran. This is where it's about. It says only. This is also both the Quran and the Old Testament say right up here, or up front. This is all you have to understand. This part right here, in relationship to what they're saying about science. The Quran is speaking about about liars in relationship to international and about truth. But how? Because we have nations are forced value individually grouped together by the identity of the engineering we are per its design since before any of us. This is why we're individual, grouped, and species. These three identities of volume have a simultaneous identity of value. That is further value. Two other ways with this, always connected. This is value nature's trinity. Inside, making more and more trinity, more and more forever nature, by making more and more temporary / lasting forever nature. So Earth's distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature is our distinct and non-distinct relationship to the identity of value progression that is discernibly an identity of relationship to itself, distinctly and non-distinctly onto these five orders of sequence nature. That the emotions also have a relationship too, and they're the increasing value. This is an identity that all things share at once. That only fills. It does not leak. It is making more forever nature. It is one identity of volume that is made up of three semi-natures, which goes along with teaching about its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that which English was revealed to teach with the other sciences, sharing an identity, this identity, that the predicate of the law is value in relationship to simultaneously while the predicate of English is value. And this is value in relationship to identity's nature or volume, which again is only filling, only increasing, positive or negative though. Heaven and hell were revealed first as terms of as scientific variables. This is the science of evolution. Really, science, real, true. It uses the grounds, identity of relationship to our active quality of fact nature this way. With sequence inseparable, the value of that inseparable, even though it came from before us, the truth of it comes with revelation. This nature we are, semi, its complete nature is inseparable, and the value of that is inseparable from each person increasingly. We're just automatically temporary positive, but unceasingly that is further as positive or negative as the quality of diffusion in relationship to this science that has that can't speak about positive properly yet, because each modern nation is in a trap with each identity of the sciences. See, the sciences share an identity. Ratiocination and pseudo-ratiocination. Not only do they share an identity, the sciences share simultaneously. It is increasingly. It is sequentially only in demonstration of how it is a simultaneous nature. We are. This is why and how we are simultaneous nature. So, Mr. Steyer, you should do what's right because you were involved, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. CNN is worse than indifferent. They're scared. They don't know they're victims of what involves former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, what involves his lawyer, Robert Cheverry, what involves people all along and with the Harriet Beecher Stowe house and the Mark Twain house, their situation there. His their roles with that all along Farmington Avenue there in Hartford, from my town, Weathersfield, intercities. Now this is also them out from also intercities from my town straight through towns to Central Connecticut State University and on and off that campus through time, involved with the breaching method, worse than war crimes. This is not theory. Part of their method is to pretend people have theories, and if they start telling about parts of it or any of it, they attach the people to fake words, fake relationships to others, even preemptively. They've been stacking. This is what is actually recorded. They've been stacking databases. Now they will say, "Well, we don't see the evidences." That's why you have to follow the rules. See, the courts, like dozens of people in the Britain Superior Court, even judges retired and standing, even prosecutors retired and standing, even how their family members get them and how they use them to hide their already what they used. They already used each location. They already used each premise treatments, criminally foreign influence, delusions raw. They already had the hide lie progressions to each location further and further. They already had this, they already self-value means to hide that as means that were used to keep them in collusion, which would what really furthers most the overt criminal enterprises with all locations, intersciences, and on and off campuses of each age and nature in this connected method, using each age of fact treatment nature, sickly distinctly, effectively having kept how sickly non distinctly from being discerned by even kings, even pharaohs. And keeping people where they can't discern things, they can't explain it. All locations, areas, and states were already invested. Time, reasons, all the other blaming the real cause of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, nature, other things other than themselves, and valuing that. Science never spoke. They have the offensive defenses of what science stands for just because someone has a degree. Now, this is with them also reported victim predators of what is a method that is consciously having kept each of the identities of the sciences self-valued abridged. It's an imperfect world, worse than forsaken, so everyone just adapts. It's not their fault, which is true. And see, this builds people to attach lies to truths. This is a child abuse method that raised the branches, criminally foreign influence, delusions, wrought victim predators, high predators law. Sicker than most people that ever come to their courts that they waste their lives of with their jails. Even just coming in contact with them. Even for the slightest things. Vaccines. Even against innocent people. Our courts are already invested, incapable of defending themselves and of affording understood or heard even what is actually recorded. Proper fact, cheap in nature, quality, intersciences, like with modern languages. Said, see, the military is reliant upon orders, reliant upon intelligence people that are criminally foreign influenced through other bonded natures of organized crime by one. That is before modern religions, thank God for them, for counter positions to this, multi-front, and for damage control. To what criminally re-engineered, they what really brought forth the republic for which we stand, which was the species working together. Because before there was criminally foreign influenced internation sciences overriding, and with this method, this is fluent through our nations. To maintain it such, it maintains nations to what really causes wars, keeps the pathology of such, encounters such, and things like that um, a nature of sophistication, identity of sophistication, identity of value progression as sophistication that is criminal insidious nature. It is temporary positive identity automatically to the extent that is automatic. That is also more and more negative value nature. Force space nature transfer, Leith of Hadith. So they, before our founding parents were born in America and in Russia, there's a pathology of harms since before cars, let alone trucks, cranes, highways. They made this pathology of homes and of means to them, tactically worse than unsafe. Uses of everything used to keep us safe, like zoning laws, worse than tactically unsafe. Roles worse than just slavery, and against everyone. And it's very simple to discern that from what we already know. But they can't defend connections between what we already know. Because that simultaneously shows, not by accident, each identity of the ground location across the globe involved with other bonded natures of organized crime, motivations, nature's needs, means, interest to it, all juxtaposed in a way to keep real motivations for evil, for fake care, for worse than indifference to the perfect world forsaken. That phrase is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with what is used in the narratives used to keep criminally foreign influenced interbranch families, foreign families here, there, fake sides, sanctions, treatments, and the only now this has a whole bunch of sick, overt identity of negative value nature progressions that we had, that integrity had obligations to speak against, but not by accident. Integrity is a punk game, punk fake theater. Oh, that's politics. That's self-valued, criminally foreign influence politics. We have each of the branches of government individually grouped in together, crime methods to hide their already recorded roles with database racketeering. That with this. For example, that capes us further and further each identity of the ground, location, area, and state. Already used by this, which keeps each age of fact sheet nature recorded, effectively kept, maintained, self-valued, hurt to anyone who wants to use correlation simultaneously, inherent, active, and progressive means, and with sequence true, two other identities of it simultaneously. Forever's identity and identity of value progression's identity of relationship to itself is value here now. Science reveals this. A temporary positive identity of humanity as nature that committed a predicate act, for example, that's involved with covering it up as a wrongdoer, as a criminal insidious nature, for example, predicate acts associated with organized crime. That's an identity shown. That shows an identity that needs to that's rolls with an identity of negative value expression. Now, for example, they had all kinds of crazy laws, slavery of torture of everyone sustained before our founders were born here, between nations A through Z already, between tribes A through Z already. They had themselves blaming other things, others themselves, like the white man. Truth, but a truth attached to lies, increasingly. The species revealed that and how we are native, pure, as value. And when that native system is not value, it demonstrates negative value nature progressions, action natures. But as long as we're trying to be valued to these five identities of correlation nature at the same time, which is a science of prayer, whereas prayer is a scientific variable, also conform to physical delusions and criminally foreign influence takes on the religions, specifically to keep them from in collusion with how each identity, the ground, location, area, and state is used by what it effectively kept and keeps each identity of the branches, each identity of the military, each identity of private database relationships, each identity of overt criminal enterprises. All these nations share the same way. Manifest as treatments need to pretend they're about positive, per law forcing that, as what is forcing everyone to lie about what is actually sequence true, for example. Integrity true, for example. Exceptions and exception nature. See, but we have courts that have been pretending not to realize exceptions and exception nature, distinctly and non distinctly from other branches of government criminally, highly sickly. So they need to pretend offensively they believe they're about positive and can't realize, can't fathom that and how North America was involved with slavery since before our founding parents were born into and as slaves. And that's why it's important to understand how it was worse if you had color. Because they put that to keep us divided, to keep anyone from speaking about that slavery of everyone. That's the only thing that could force anyone to take part with that sick thing against color. That's not prejudice. Uses of those identities then and now, all fake sides, forcing people to respect them offensively with physical delusions, roles with uses of the identities of each branch of government, pretending they had conversations with people they never did. Pseudo positive, not just pseudo positive. Positive as criminal serious nature, not really positive. Negative. Individual can't help but being positive. We're in how we are valued. See how we all long need water. The identity of positive complete course. It is controlled by its identity in relation to itself, in the value of that, in the value of that. And that has nothing to do with us. We, except this is Earth's distinct and non-distinct relation. This is the exception of Earth in relationship to the rest of space nature. Most probably because of that and how and why we are closest to the greatest inherent nature of volume, where it has an inherent and active and a progressive nature of volume that are bonded, one simultaneous identity of value progression. We're not supposed to even agree about the name of it. There is value to not agreeing about the name of it. When we're in an identity of negative value nature progression, there is more and more value not to agree upon the name of it, or to agree just to use the name in relationship to the premises treatments. Again, criminally foreign influence, delusions raw, sequence racketeering, sequence organized crime, worse than war crimes, simple organized crime method. See, we have treatment, we have shock and awe when people are asked to explain or to teach. So we have the colleges and universities, not by accident. They're supposed to make sure that we have people teach right about American history. They never did it, not by accident. So the debates on this, what they call debate, they're leaving out evidence, simple evidence, which actually recorded. See, that's where we have to deal with also how they have the phrase, all words and phrases, sentence. insensitive. But the phrase scientific process, scientific consensus, those phrases individually grouped, they used only through criminal foreign influence delusions raw, with justifications of, again, such the value of such as factory nature, as criminal and seditious natures since semi-ancient times. That's why we never realized means, even though we have cars now, even though we have trucks now, cranes, trains, planes, ships, the same pathology of infrastructure from that tactically denatured native base, identity of grounds, identity of relationship to its value progression, that which causes and reveals evolution's fruits and gifts, really. That which was revealed us, really. Only the extent of it is debatable, but we have, again, scientific consensus, scientific process delusions raw, criminally foreign influenced, not by accident, from off campuses of each age and nature, per a method that keeps them locked in more and more on off campuses, locked more and more to collusion, what was already a method to all locations, self-valued. Again, not just criminally foreign and tactically criminally foreign influence identity ground relationship from a tactically denatured base. Self-value, tactically the value between that. Our quality of fact, treatment nature foundation. In the actual grounds value progression system. The ancients understood that there is also, you can't help but have a value progression between that too. That is simultaneously value. Each value, no matter how small it is, has 2 points, 2 identities of real possession on both sides of it. Now, the halo was revealed, was preserved in relationship to by Jesus Christ and by the people who preserved modern religions too, counter because they still never preserved it. They still prevent proper treatments as asked by the Old Testament of the first part of it, distinctly and non-distinctly in Latin, distinctly and non-distinctly in English, and they don't know how to explain that. The stewards of the religions, because they're victims of this which were criminally re-engineered internation sciences, therefore internation relations, therefore descriptions of them. Since before modern religions, before semi-ancient religions, messengers, thank God for them, were even born. Now, when I use the word God, this is through algebraic consciousness as a variable. In other words, when someone, through this way, it means what I think is true always, not denying exceptions, and with exceptions in the demonstration of it. This is how logic works with no criminal foreign influences. I'm not a doctor, but I delineate their delusions from their criminal foreign influences too. We have many nations like Russians and Americans with doctors of psychology involved with human trafficking, forging names, switching names, mail crimes, wire crimes. Now, these are people with evidence as crimes of prosecutors and judges using crime methods, lawyers too, and states attorneys, and programs associated with these courts, not by accident, like Washington, D.C., World Trade Center type. All peaceful location, all peaceful counters to that overtly left that wasn't caused by anyone modern. So it just blamed the other causes, things themselves, not by accident, like wars. Kind of a solution. And if it's such a last if it's such a last minute needs to go have wars and things like that, how come they left out their obligations in relationship to all the weapons of it? The threats of it actually just in relationship to that. No one's speaking. Everyone's playing like they have integrity, have science. Each identity ground has no science that's not abridged. And that's recorded how maintained. Effectively having kept breaching method employed, opinion natures, dishonest, originally and still, worse than dishonest, and delusions raw. So I selected that this video is good for kids because the FCC is also involved with this with courts, various natures of female judges. In other words, human judges that are female, all male and female, retired and standing, but female judges, black and white. Crimes with the principal sex offenders campus, then and further with KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, military families also involved with predicate acts, and so then with their predicate acts. And now these are people also involved with predicate acts and with wrongdoing tied to that, tied to the co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Federal criminals proven in other cases. And see, those other cases are in relationship to this, which I have rights to the Attorney General now, which we have rights to it, but no one sees this because they're hiding evidences. They're lying about evidences. Connecticut courts, since before the World Trade Center attack, they were attaching little kids to fake locations. They're putting fake recorded things into databases. There were a whole bunch of people tied to a Chris Walters, to his three brothers, to his sister, to his mother, to his daughter. I mean, his wife. Their family members involved with judges from the dozens of people, prosecutors, their family members with the British Superior Court, people on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off Walcott Hill Road, with the corners of it. Further involved with worse than organized crime connections between schools in all the schools of each age, because this is also, and these are Washington D.C. World Trade Center, a whole bunch of people, private schools, and around the Wethersfield High School involved with judges and with prosecutors and with foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises through time with them, and with military, foreign and domestic, a Dillon family involved with them, with my new and past neighbors, further with the principal sex offenders campus. Now they're trying to start a fight too, because I don't even know their names. And they have them involved with predicate acts that a Dillon family and that a Leahy family are involved with, also with untimely deaths and other natures of confessions and racketeering and torture and identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering on and off my street, connected intercities, intercampuses. A whole bunch of people with Trinity College are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved also with the people associated with this Chris Walters, like a Kerr family, like a DeMorrow family, like a Hanson family. All people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of other people from my town, with Central Connecticut State University. The people that I don't know at all, pretended other in the past. People that I never had anything to do with it, pretended other. Now, this is New Britain Superior Court also with their uses of their Facebook page, with more sex offenders, and with the principal sex offenders campus, also in ways that force that not to be told on. That are also their inclusion with confessions that were made inside and outside of the courts, plural, to me and to others, before the World Trade Center attack and since, with further people that are countering sexual abuses of each age of boys and girls. Those people are involved with it. They're involved with human trafficking. WFSB is involved with this. Fox Connecticut News is involved with this. The buildings next to them are involved with this. They stack names of strangers. Fox Connecticut News is involved with racketeering on and off their with predicate acts and with wrongdoing on and off their building with a Thaddeus Grabowski. They're trying to start fights because I don't want to. They're trying to pretend passionate. Oh, but you said this bad against us. They stole me to fake words, fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake ties to doctors. Doctors aren't supposed to talk about their roles with patients, especially ones they're making up, pretending they had a conversation, but never had a conversation at all. Not even a sentence. They pretend whole fake sentences, all these lies with federal criminals, because and proven, and they lied about cases and me talking about cases because these are evidence. The people that investigate and the validity of what people say, who's telling the truth, who's not. They're kept criminally foreign influenced and keeping everyone around them criminally foreign influenced. They are not telling the truth. Whether they're incapable of having an election. These are courts with crimes with Russians since before they wanted to pretend they're against that with their Paul Manafort treatments. On and off Paul Manafort Drive on Central Connecticut State University. There are many people involved with CNN, their sources, recorded involved coaching their passions and emotions, racketeering. Nordstrom's is also recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with them, with the Saudi family I don't know the names of. But they're also, these are the people from my town, Wethersfield, Connecticut, intercities onto West Hartford, New Britain, Superior, New Britain. Whole bunch of people tied to identity theft, frauds, and stuff with West Hartford tied to a Joe DeMoro. Attached me to fake locations with him. And with the cousins of a Ray Clough, a friend of his, who lives 2 houses over me. His cousins, I never hung around with him and his cousins ever when they were growing up. Never saw his cousin on my street ever growing up. Now, the Phil Clough was pretending other. Even the my family behind their back. And even with a whole bunch of people with forensics locations. Whole bunch of people tied to a Soto family I also don't know. Never had a conversation with them. They were repeated, demonstrated to me. Involved what I didn't understand it completely. I knew it was connected to live progressions tied to grammar school with people I never had a class with, 2 brothers, a Tim O'Brien and an Andrew O'Brien, made confessions, demonstrations of their roles with Congress and with detectives involved with crimes, also with organized crime, which was through time. Also involved with a Joshua Julian, with them with on and off a principal sex offenders campus. This is also how they have women judges and women prosecutors involved with predicate acts and with other natures of wrongdoing and methods recorded, whole predicate act methods recorded, actually recorded natures, see criminal insidiousness nature. I'm not a lawyer. And I'm not like them. These are also the jails associated with these courts, the prisons and their family members. Oh, like people, I never had a personal conversation with Lawrence Claybay in my life, with the Olympics. The Olympics and the stewards of Facebook policing from off the location of Facebook. Facebook recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they are maintained on and off their locations further and further, forced to collusion with former director of the FBI down. They don't realize the extent of when they make opinions about people's behavior because they have the sequence shifts tied to this. They have identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering forced. They're lying about what is actually, if you call the police to correct their roles with recorded child sex crime acts, would lead up to that, even before you get to that, because they have untimely death rolls. They have foreign and domestic nursing families. They have a whole bunch of, we have to get these judges' names in order. There's a whole bunch of courts involved with this Leahy family, with the medical racketeering on my street through time. Doesn't mean I know the people. Every once in a while, someone make confessions into it, demonstrate. A whole bunch of people from my town involved with my town's police chief's daughter and with her extended family members, like Reno Mazzucato and his brother and sister. I don't even know their names. I never had a class with Reno Mazzucato. I only know him from him seeking me out to make confessions as the one involved with the John Mayer. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sequence shifts and databases racketeering and crimes with kids. And also with Yukon people associated with also with the Morrow family. A whole bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University. A whole bunch of people involved with sports with kids, sports teams. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with the and or organized crime acts, predicate acts, and or wrongdoing roles with them and sequence shifts with them that this Mayano family has with dozens of people at the Britain Superior Court, other courts, and their family members, including judges. Now there's a Dr. Zeman I never had a conversation with either. But I did. I wasn't my president, and 2 times because 3 times I was forced into a triage in relationship to my new and past neighbors' confessions that is also recorded tied to affidavits I got when I was a kid and other strangers that approached me and all kinds of people involved with a Dillon family, which my new and past neighbors are involved with, a Kevin Dillon and with Anna Dillon. Other people confessed, recorded, demonstrated Sean Dillon. These are also military, foreign and domestic, like Kuwaiti military, Asian military. There are Vietnamese families. Also, there's a Vietnamese family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with Hartford hospital racketeering acts and whole methods recorded. Identity thefts, frauds, sequence shift racketeering. There are even people with homeschooling involved with Panera Bread or Panera. Please respond. Because my town's police chief, a whole bunch of them. Now they stack names to racketeering acts roles, worse than racketeering acts roles. Predicate acts roles, worse than war crimes. These are leading up to an incident in the Trade Center attack. We have courts that are kept with their the prisons tied to them, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, the same finite lies, the same active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering lies from presidents, whoever becomes chief president. So they keep forcing that whoever becomes it to be a knave. Otherwise, they're gonna force them to have aggression that they also have to lie about, and they have been lying about dishonestly. CNN sources are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them preventing mandated law. Their roles with sexual, medical, and other educational crimes against kids, as people that offensively pretend to be against such. That's what's actually recorded. If you try to point this out, they'll attach you to fake words. They lie about what is actually recorded over the wire crimes. We said we have on off the Connecticut FBI in New Haven, on off Yale, Intersciences, on off all the colleges and universities of all statutes, on off Yukon. We have the bar itself, criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw, originally still. It's not complicated, it's just extensive. So first thing we do is admit this. See, but we can't do it when Steyer is breaching employment. He's employing breaching position roles with him, preventing with the prevention of free speech and of the liberation of science for the people of New York City, for example, right through administrations. All identities of law, criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw, ill natures, pretending other. How they are victim predators, child abuse, recorded too. So we have to have mandated law followed. Instead of following mandated law, they use crime methods pretending people have a conspiracy theories, making overall allegations against people. These are all the natures of courts that are doing this with them. So you can't sue them because of their crime methods, recording, forging, and switching names. So what we're going to do now, they have the obligations to respond to me in writing, have them pick one name in sequence, and have watch the Attorney General working for us now through work by working for me. I'll show you how much pseudo healthcare exists, how it's like the community center, how it's the parks, mayors retired and standing. There are people associated with a Morin family who is reportedly the mayor now. I never met the mayor. There's a Julie Moore. I never had any problems with her. Barely know her. I had a class with her when I was in grammar school. The same grammar school of the principal sex offender. Now they have the governor Malloy. They also coached to hide to all kinds of evidence racketeering acts roles, database racketeering acts roles, medical racketeering acts roles against each agent factory nature. These are people also involved with overt criminal enterprises and with the witness protection programs ties to the street. A whole bunch of other FBI agents, and CIA and foreign families. So they have the sense and sensibilities of everyone stacked, needing to hide from mandated law, needing to hurt with plot against who's asking to have mandated law followed properly. No, so we have people pretending because they know the most about the law, but so what they're doing is hiding how they're actually recorded making up fake inculpatory evidences and hiding exculpatory evidences simultaneously, sequence shifting, simultaneously worse. When I say identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, this is in relationship to these crime acts and methods recorded, but you guys aren't letting me tell on. Now, they also have interbranch New Britain Superior Court involved with crimes with a principal sex offenders campus, also with Local 230 and with Wethersfield Police, also with their family members on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices. A whole bunch of people tied to so we have to get a response here. We have a Bob Chase, also further involved with the males and female judges and male and female doctors and male and female prosecutors, further involved with principal sex offender, further involved with their patients and criminals before they got caught. And they're involved with physical delusions. And they're involved with racketeering, with worse than war crimes, uses of the end of like highway exits, entrances and exits to highways, intercities, all along the Celestine Highway. There's a Demoro's Market, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them, with a whole bunch of other people within the Britain Superior Court involved with racketeering with them, and with a tied to a Mr. Abruzzi. There are people, a whole bunch of people from CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated ties to a principal sex offenders campus through time with bonded natures of racketeering. And they also have a pattern of ties to a Leahy family, who's one of the ones forging names, switching names, fake conversations with me. And then they brought in the two other times some Dr. Zeman, some Aziz guy, and some Dr. Z-men. They have some foreign and domestic racketeering also with that on-off Town Line Drive mobile. The locations next to it. Also with my new and past neighbors with state police, Weathersfield Police, Rocky Hill Police, and their roles with the Scalora family and with the DeMauro family, and with them with prosecutors and judges involved in crimes with Saudi families, and with the investigators of the Trade Center attack, and their uses of the good Saudis. See, they just have all fakes. It's a whole bunch of people with West Farms Mall reported, confessed, and demonstrated involved with this, with racketeering, with uses of worse than racketeering, uses of Central Connecticut State University, intercities. There are men and women from West Hartford I never had a conversation with in my life associated with the family associated with this Phil Colo, further with a whole bunch of people associated with forensics locations, recorded involved, what is actually recorded. See, they're lying about what is actually recorded online and over the mail, our agencies, while they're pretending to be integrity. Now they have the Weathersfield Library involved with a whole bunch of other nations. They have people that were involved with the Old Town Cafe and houses and people in the area, like associated on Church Street, further involved. All kinds of medical racketeering, all kinds of databases involved racketeering, worse than racketeering. About lawyer now, police form a criminal. We're going to delineate their delusions from their crime methods into branch. Each branch of government has whole crime methods self-valued, each individual grouped together. How that is maintained self-valued by them is recorded, tied to the actually recorded uses of the campuses of each age and nature and the houses next to them, how they were or are used. Victims, but victim predators. If I don't get a response, they respond. Get them to one name in sequence. They use the locations of the courts to prevent people from speaking. Then they attach you to fake recorded words. We have to counter. We have to. The courts have all offensively preventing mandated law. They are involved with all overt criminal enterprises, also with private timed databases tied clicks. We have further the fire departments intercities involved with the ones inter parts of my town. Further involved with the crimes with the kids, with the crimes with the vetting of information, with the crimes with the Weathersfield police chief's daughter and extended family members. Further, all along that route that goes by the state judicial branch offices. Further, interdepartments at Central Connecticut State University with a whole bunch of other people. Uses of those identities of those sciences recorded from off those campuses maintain criminally foreign influenced. They have been collusion with psychology with a whole bunch of nations, all kinds of medicines and racketeering, organized crime, acts and methods recorded, physical delusions recorded. They are recorded, in other words. So Olympics, they're Lawrence Claybay. This is what they said too. There are people in boxing before the World Trade Center attack who were involved with Connecticut gyms, with judges, and with prosecutors that were coaching them to their roles with racketeering use, with organized crime acts uses of Central Connecticut State University. As people involved with that, with organized crime uses of each of the campuses I went to intercities, like the principal sex offenders campus. And what brought that up to me? The untimely deaths, which is one on the campus of Trinity College, which is involved with other natures of predicate acts and of wrongdoing and of sequence shifts and of identity thefts, frauds, and uses of that were orchestrated. Same people, so So give me a response. Give me a response. So FCC is recorded involved with them with this method that kept the courts, criminally foreign influence, and the police forms just grouped also. So they're preventing mandated law, pretending they don't see evidences, using time always too fast, too slow to get over on people. They are recorded with the families and leaderships of the prisons. Whole bunch of people from my town through time involved with Washington D.C. and with World Trade Center, criminally foreign influence, and its conjunction to all that is manifested relationship to that, to as that a value/value nature relationship to that, where we are quality of fact, cheap in nature, breach, fake identities here and there across the world, only capable of discerning identity through contrast, not capable of correlations, words, and means, one way redeemed. So WFSB, detach me and others you attach to fake words, fake ties to doctors as a kid too. I never had a doctor as a kid, never had a mental diagnosis. You're involved with a whole bunch of intercities connected too, not just the rest of the campus in town, that too also. The stewards of the phone being coached by the roles of my town's police chief with foreign and domestic families, also sharing his name, Cintron. Val also recorded and confessed people that with a house next to, with a light, it used to be baby blue, I don't know if it was years ago, near where there's an Omni place and a bank next to it. That's recorded and confessed and demonstrated also with the people involved with sexual, medical, and other abuses of kids, intercampuses, with the policings of the stores. Now, and with name stacking, and with uses of sensibility, uses of these methods that prevent people from speaking, then they use everyone remote. Because they were using remote. They knew they would do that, the breaching method. That's why we have suits and ties. All these narratives with democracy, physical delusions raw. All these notions about positive and negative, physical delusions raw. About politics, physical delusions raw. On off the election spots, town offices involved, criminally foreign influence, World Trade Center racketeering wall, Connecticut, Weathersfield, Connecticut, interbranch rolls with Weathersfield town offices, World Trade Center attack rolls with a whole bunch of other nations, fire departments. Of course, they want to say, oh, allegations, sue us. That's what the Attorney General is going to do, sweep you clear. Fix the fake news, interbranch and fake news now. Yeah, I didn't have conversations with you, WFSB. And don't lie about my behavior here too. You're sequence shifting. You're worse than that. You're lying about evidences too. Oh, we don't see evidences. That's what's being reported too. You're lying about what's actually recorded and how you're doing it. There's also the timed ad placements with the networks involved further with human trafficking. These are the same people with the child sex offenders intercities with the colleges and universities that are also recorded with ties to my street with them, with the people with the spots with more racketeering uses of the spots of killers and of overt criminal enterprises, including the serial killer near the highway entrances and exits in West Hartford, right around the corner from Central Connecticut State University in the Britain. And as the ones further on off Two Rod Highway, Town Line Drive, into line, but on off Town Line Drive through time, shopping centers, as the ones further involved with the malls through time. So, also, The name stacking. There's so many more names. I don't know these people, but that they are recorded. I only know them because this is what happens when you have a police chief with his daughter involved with crimes with child sex offenders, medical offenders of kids that are also sexual offenders, also identity theft, frauds, racketeering, wire crimes, mail crimes, with judges and prosecutors, and with their kids involved. They used former Governor Malloy. Now this is also interstate Maine recorded involved also with medical racketeering with Hartford. Also Florida. A whole bunch of people with the Scalora family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with Wethersfield police. Then they're also one of the families involved with falsified police reports, identity thefts, frauds, and worse through time, sequence shifts, and with forensics locations like this Phil Cololo, like a Subby Scalora, a Claudia Scalora. Also with the Morrow family recorded, confessed, demonstrated he was when he was a kid. I only know these people's names, like the Mendez brother, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with medical racketeering, with with the Wethersfield officers. They're like disgusting conversations. They make everyone know through other people. That you learn about other people through stranger that they didn't pretend to know you, which is just part of it. We have to deal with the actual recorded predicate acts. We have to deal with the names forging and switching. The courts have been using their locations to hide how they were already used for all kinds of sick crimes against everyone. So respond for them. Let's get the FCC trained. Once that we could do exercises, have the branches that could do exercises, make them switch branches like a game or whatever for training. Do things instead of charging someone, paying someone to do it. You know, other people will donate. I'll donate the outline of pantheism as the science of this identity of value progression that is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously each individual identity of value progression, each grouped one distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, and them all together. This is why we are a species, individual grouped and together. Grouped as ages too, not just sexes, not just areas, not just color. This is invisible but clear. This is what is in demonstration of and as all things at the same time. It's making more of itself, more forever nature, positive or negative. Perfect memory in relationship to perfect, positive or negative. What we are now, see, this is where heaven and hell came as scientific variables in relationship to this method. Using 5 simultaneously orders of value. Not just the smallest thing is value, the order to the finite, the order to the sequence before that, the order to what is active now. These are 3 values as order. The order to the progressive, the order to the identity. Value has a direct relationship to positive and or negative. Positive or negative have a direct relationship to identity. But now, through these tactically ulterior from the native value progression of evolution's identities value progression and its use of identity ground. Science, real evolution doesn't work without the identity ground. Doesn't make a great invention and kill 50,000 people because he's dumping all these chemicals in the water. The only way we can afford to counter the tactically denatured, native-based denatured, even if we all agree, every modern nation, let's do it. The only way we can do it properly individually grouped together as being led by this identity of value progression that pantheism is really about. The one identity of the many nations, the one identity of relativity, of value progression, relativity to the many nations of the one species as a body of value. That is simultaneously a body of value is nature, and nature is value simultaneously and making more of itself that way. In many pray, Foxy. So it's just so whoever hears this, all you have to do, if you're not admitting that you're on a tactically denatured nature identity of the ground relationship, even you see these great extravagant homes. Then you look out, they have a little pond, tactically denatured, and a fountain on it. We have, you could just stack. People is not good to stack. Fish, you could stack them. You could build the bottoms for the bottom feeders, like catfish. You could build all kinds of different size fish, different size frogs can survive this. They can defend themselves if they have these spots. Amended, make it. In other words, there are proofs. It is most plausible that no, it's demonstrable. That was most plausible. Native American. The ancients understood how to cause evolutions, fruits, and gifts. When they put hunter and gatherer, they do that with physical delusions. I mean, of course, we'll hunt. Of course, we'll gather. But they were cultivating. The second you can cultivate, propagating. So of course, they did make things easier and easier. See, but since semi-ancient times, self-valued is that prevented? How to make things easier? They play stupid. Oh well, we're the ones with money, so what comes has to come through us. The unity is value. Not unity could be negative value nature. It's like the environment. Doesn't mean positive or negative. So we have them pretending to be about not to understand. Oh, well, that's rhetoric. Because they know we have to have discern the difference between pseudo rhetoric and rhetoric. The difference between pseudo semantics and semantics. Because there's a trinity there. It's not just there's a right side or wrong side. This is science real. And nothing. We don't have a free election now. We have the courts and the executive branch distinctly and non-distinct, individually and grouped, criminally foreign influence. It's easy to show how the politicians are. See, that's why you have to have the mandated law followed. That's why you have to have a response from me and we have to start imposing sanctions or whatever if they don't get me response. Come on, Attorney General. We have this right now. We have this obligation. I know how to do it. I know how they were using on and off Fox Connecticut News. I know how they were using on and off WFSB with people involved first with databases, organized crime method, worse than war crimes, and line progressions from that also offensively. That's how they kept the DMV, the Department of Transportation, also on and off those locations. The family members are tied to those locations. Everyone's communications, vetting of information. Everyone's already in collusion. Everyone's already a sick nature. So how could they speak about other people's nature? You call them a failure? The people from, you guys are failures. Follow mandated law. You failed too. You failed to prevent us defenses from all kinds of natures of bad things, intercampuses of each age, shootings, and there are ties between them. Now you guys have to hide that too, like Sandy Hook, Aurora, Colorado, Parkland. They all have racketeering ties to a Kerr family, for example, on Meadowgate, with houses on the corner of it and locations on off it, and with Kolvenskis family, also next to religious spots with them, involved also with schools with them, with predicate acts roles with other military police like an MPO Floyd, also involved with a number of predicate acts, drug crimes with people involved with untimely deaths, and with the Eastern States Narcotic Drugs Task Force involved with such. So respond for them, because these are also people with that who are involved with male and female black white with female black white judges with crimes with child offenders and with a whole bunch of confessions tied to this Joshua Stryker and to a Charlie Bowes. I also never had a conversation with. And I don't know if it's his real sister or some girl says she's his sister, tied to this Chris Walters and a whole bunch of people with Mobile Gas Station who sought me out as a kid to make their confession demonstration roles with this, with New Britain Superior Court, with people and with this tied to the grammar school, with the people that made their confessions about the uses demonstrations of the uses of Congress and of detectives of Hartford detectives as the people on my street through time involved also with NFL families like this O'Brien family, further involved with the people like with this Phil Cololo and with male and female prosecutors, further involved with forensics locations, also with foreign and domestic doctors, crimes with child sex offenders, human trafficking, and with media racketeering acts or predicate acts like WFSB, like Fox Connecticut News. Also WTNH is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of people tied to judges' families, with all kinds of natures of organized crime, with acts and databases, medical crimes, sexual abuses, other abuses of boys and girls, identity thefts. No, following they maintain UConn. The same people that are pretending they're about, oh, well, we only want to have good people associated with our campus. What they call good is criminally foreign influenced. And they're lying about what is actually recorded in actual sequence natures. Also, because of how they have recorded forced aggressions, fake and evil, and criminally foreign, and uses that remotely, and fake care. Also, uses of that remotely, already, originally, and still. So they're keeping the opinions of everyone criminally foreign. Oh, that's politics. That's just politics. That's just, hey, you say whatever, you get the side to win or that side. They're leaving out their roles with all kinds of evidences, crimes against everyone. They own more than they own. Cabal. So follow mandated law for Connecticut. They're also involved with the international. So they have fake sides, other nations, media. So they have to pretend not to realize that by hurting CNN. That's how they keep victim predators. Follow mandated law, CNN, so I don't have to keep complaining about you. And follow. See, they have the former director of the FBI, other agencies and judges with the recorded delusions, crime methods like wire crime methods, mail crime methods, lying about what is actually proving, pretending they don't know things, uses of depositions for fake sides of correlation nature, fake relationships between people, fake sequence relationships, uses of their roles with area crimes also for that. Because then when things unfold, it makes it look like people have relationships to other people that they don't. When the courts influence people to interact with other people, those courts are already criminally foreign influenced, and those people are already criminally foreign influenced. Per the same thing that is inter-overt criminal enterprises, keeping them needing to hide the same sequence shifts with the branches, the same finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering lies. So we have further, since before the campus started again, they have the Wethersfield police chief, and they have other people recorded, confessed, involved coaching the people who answer the phones to hide what is actually recorded. That's why we also have to counter the women judges and women prosecutors with their and male ones with their kids and family members further than and now with the principal sex offender criminally, with their uses of former Governor Malloy, and everyone hiding, not preventing me response. There's also a Darren who from East Hartford. There were a whole bunch of other people like a DeMoro family and tied to them, like Officer Magnanos, also from East Hartford, recorded involved with dozens of people within the Britain Superior Court and with other Connecticut courts involved with them, with connected racketeering acts, predicate acts. Now, respond for them too. Let's go.